We're going to discuss this with Omar Samad. He's a former Afghan diplomat and non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, joining us from Washington, D.C. Omar, thanks so much for coming onto this program. Now, this really is a good first step for Afghanistan, but how long until that aid actually reaches those in need, especially with winter conditions just getting worse in the country?
Well, that's a very good question because there have been delays and the fact that now the World Bank is ready to disperse $280 million through two key critical UN agencies, WFP and UNICEF, is going to make a difference. Obviously, there are some costs associated with this, but it's important that as much as possible actually make it to the Afghan people, especially the needy, the 20 million or so who are facing starvation and malnutrition, and the children especially who are in dire need, and the families of the most destitute and poorest of the communities that are affected not only by what has happened over the last 4 months, but also by drought and the fact that Afghanistan has no more cash on its hands. So this is going to be helpful. The sooner, the better. And I think that, as you said, before winter sets in.
And I'd like to just get an understanding of what the situation in Afghanistan is like at the moment, especially the humanitarian situation. The Taliban taking over in August, and the economy has been on a downward spiral since then, and people, especially children, as you mentioned, are the ones really feeling it.
Well, it's been a very unconcerning and disconcerting experience for Afghans. They obviously did not expect this shock. It's something that obviously is inherited from a previous government that left all the coffers empty, more or less. And then the Taliban have been under sanctions, so they're not receiving any money officially through formal means. But the humanitarian crisis reminds us of the fact that it's very fragile. The country is very fragile. The situation needs immediate attention. Time cannot be wasted. And there's also another good news that I just saw coming through, that the United States Treasury Department has allowed for general licenses for remittances to be allowed again, meaning that individuals and people in person who can send money through certain channels to Afghanistan can do so again. You see, the problem is with the banking system. The banking system is almost fully collapsed, and that has to be revived as soon as possible in order for the economy and for individuals and families and communities to be able to sustain themselves.
Omar, the banking situation, of course, a critical one, a humanitarian crisis as well. But with this new development from the World Bank approving this transfer, as well as the remittances that you talk about, is this also now a way for governments and donors to get help to people in Afghanistan without actually legitimizing the Taliban as a government?
That's the idea. And I think that is part of the scheme or the agenda at play right now. As I said, the Taliban, for various reasons, are under sanctions. There are United Nations sanctions, and then there were international community sanctions. So they obviously cannot receive international assistance directly, but at the same time, they have to pay salaries. So it is going to be important to see how much of this money is actually going to be used not through the Taliban, but by probably avoiding the Taliban, through the United Nations agencies and some other NGOs, to pay the salaries of Afghan civil servants who haven't been paid for months. And so there are rumors that in the next few days, many of them will receive their first salaries after almost 4 months.
And hopefully we will see the situation getting a little bit better there. Omar Samad, live to us there from the US Capitol. Thank you so much.